A very good evening to everybody watching. Thank you for joining us tonight on the agenda. My name is Taivo Jebela. Tonight on the platform, we are joined by Salomo Hei. He is the chairperson of African Stars Football Club, the most successful football club lately on the Namibian football calendar. And we are here to talk about the successes of that club, what lies behind that success, and issues that could be done better to make football even a better business for those that are involved in it. Thank you very much, Gaza, for making time. Congratulations. This is the fourth consecutive league title.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Toys. Thank you for having me, and thank you for the kind words. I always make the point that you know how difficult it is to win a 90 minutes soccer game. Imagine winning the majority in a 30-game season. Imagine doing that over 4 seasons. It's a mammoth task, and we take this with a lot of humility. And again, thank the Okatarandu folklore for always having been with the club.
Absolutely. So what makes a football club in a very competitive league, especially this season? This season was probably one of the most competitive I've seen in recent seasons, where the league, I think with a game to go, was not yet decided. But particularly for African Stars to have succeeded for 4 consecutive seasons, what lies behind that success? Is it administration? Is it resources? Is it a culture that has been inculcated into the club? What is it?
So one, I think it's planning, right? I think that's the biggest, it's the common denominator for our success. In the sense that since 4 years ago, when we started on this particular journey after the impasse or the hiatus of no football, we had a strategic plan in terms of what we wanted to achieve. On top of that was obviously to remain competitive and participate in Africa. For you to remain competitive and participate in Africa, there are certain factors that you need to take into account. One of those is obviously the personnel, in terms of the players that you need to have. Now, linked to the players would be the character and personality of these players. Secondly, you need to make sure that the vision of the club is entrenched in the players. And once you have those two, the likelihood of success is high. And then obviously the component of the resources are essentially a function of planning. You know, the Namibian football is not rewarding in terms of monetary terms. So there's no resources to speak of. If any, it's a great personal cost at the African Stars management and board. And look, so once you've done it, and remember that the fierce competition of vying for honors is not new to African Stars. In the past, there was Black Africa, who ran us very close. Obviously, it was sad to see them being relegated and where they find themselves now. So, if you look at the 4 seasons again, Toys, remember the first season we were being run close by Blue Waters, right? I think we essentially only lost 1 game in that particular season. We won the title with 3 games or 2 games to go. The second season, I think we were being run close by, was Ongos, right? Was Ongos. And then the third season, we were being run close by Young African. Now, what it tells you is that you've got 3 different competitors over the season, right? So if in the second season Blue Waters put up a fight, it would have been perhaps a much more difficult campaign, because they would have known what it took for them to run us close, and then where did they fall short. So every new competitor for us, they are learning how to win the league, right? We've been able to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
For instance, we know exactly how many points per game do we need to get to be able to make sure that we win the league. This vision is then also informed and shared with the technical team. And this is why at times you see the turnover of coaches at the club.
Yeah.
But it's precisely because of not being able to meet the short-term, medium-term, and long-term objectives. Football is a performance game.
Yeah.
And that's why one should not lose sight of that. And essentially, those are the ingredients that have really helped us. I mean, this season, we knew that Chula Chula really came out. But I think it was between the team that won the first title, right? The Dynamo Friedrichs, Commander D0 team, and this current team. I think these are the strongest teams in terms of personnel that we have built in the past 4 seasons. But for one or the other reason, this season, this team could not click for consistency. I mean, you will realize that when they needed to win the games, they showed up and won the games because the quality is there. And again, there are different factors that one can attribute to the sort of campaign that we had. But the long and short of it, I think it was a beautiful campaign. It was good to see a strong Chula Chula. We hope that they continue because I remember that we also need to take the product to commercialization and professionalization. And it took Chiefs and Pirates to take the PSL where it is. And there's a lot of lessons that can be learned from a Chula Chula and African Stars rivalry in terms of taking the product forward. And I think that from a neutral football supporter, I think this was one for the archives. I don't know whether everyone around the game understood what this meant because you don't see these sort of title run-ins very often.
Absolutely. You spoke about the turnover of coaches at African Stars, which is a bit surprising because you would think that for a club that has won the league 4 consecutive seasons, the coaches have been successful. But somehow even the guy who won you this particular one that is on the table right now is no longer with the club. What is happening there?
Yeah, so look, Toys, African Stars want to compete in Africa, and we want to compete in Africa. We want to get into the group stages, right? And one, obviously, the most important criteria is the CAF A license, right? But teams mirror themselves into the coach, right? And again, like I said, in terms of quality, if you look at the team that we had this season, we should have worked this league. But obviously, we struggled not being able to put together a consistent run of games. And there's someone that needs to take responsibility for that. Also, what transpired was that you need to have an identity. The team must play in a certain way, right? Especially because of the quality of players that African Stars has. And the inability to have that identity, the inability for you to dominate games consistently with the quality that we have. So these are the questions that we were asking ourselves as a board to say that if you have to play in Africa, you need to dominate the games for 60 to 70 minutes, right? And dominate by playing, right? Being consistently on top of your opponent. And if you can't do that in the Namibian league, right, it's extremely difficult for you to achieve the African dream. Now, also, this really lingered on for a while because remember that we had the coach from Lesotho, who in my view, I think was one of the best trainers that we had, not necessarily a coach and manager. Because again, there's a lot of character, personality that goes with having to get into Africa. And so that disruption with him leaving, the coach that we had came in as an assistant coach, but because we were left with less than 10 games to go, we figured that does it make sense to bring in a new coach?
Yeah.
So we kept him on. And after the top 8 cup, I mean, we also have our own view of why the top 8 was played now. There's no way in the world where you see this sort of things happening. But nevertheless, what transpired was we looked at the game against 11 Arrows. We look at the end of season report from the coach. We look at all of these factors in terms of, I mean, you know that we stream all our games, so there's content, there's data. Sorry, we should know how many corner kicks we have had this whole season, how many of those corner kicks were converted as goals, and all of that.
So, set pieces and everything.
Yes. So when you speak to a technical team and they cannot sort of give you the comfort of what transpired and what happened against 11 Arrows, how many shots on target did we have, you have to take decisions because at the end of the day, the CAF Champions League is a knockout competition, and if you're unable to win your knockout competitions within the domestic league, what are you setting yourself up for? So that's there are factors. I mean, and again, I don't know whether you want us to go to each individual coach that we had, but the reality is that you want a very structured approach in terms of why you are doing well. The coach must understand why you are doing well, and he must be able to transmit this message to management, so that management is able to find comfort to continue doing what we are doing to make sure that the results don't drop.
Absolutely.
But if you don't get that comfort from the technical team, it does leave you no man's land, because I mean, we plan wanting to get into Africa, wanting to win the league, getting a certain profile of a player, and making sure that the team is off the field ready to participate. And I think on the field, we would want that to be reciprocated. And this is why we've gone to the market in really wanting to understand what is out there, you know, outside of perhaps only restricting the search for this coach that will take us into the group stages through the local football. And the response has been overwhelming.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I've seen reports about people who want to take over the club, some European guys. I mean, what do you guys offer that would, apart from what we see on the field of play, administratively, financially, there ought to be something interesting that would attract a guy from Europe, from Slovakia, or whatever country it is, to throw their name in the hat.
So to us, I think generally the product of football on the continent is growing. There's huge interest in football on the continent, and having a team that consistently participate in the Africa Champions League does attract coaches, because remember that it goes onto your CV as a coach to say that you took a Namibian team that has never qualified for the group stages for the first time into the group stages. I mean, that sets you up for potentially a bigger career somewhere else. And when I say bigger, I mean in terms of financial rewarding, exposure, not playing these 2 games a weekend that we play in Namibia, and that sort of thing. So the reality is that, look, we don't have a big war chest in terms of what we offer coaches. We have aggressive bonus structure where your rewards are performance based, and that's perhaps also what drives coaches that want to get to the next level. I mean, if you look at the previous coach that we had from Lesotho, he came, he won the league with us last season. Obviously, towards the end, that's when he came in. He then played, he took us to the Africa preliminary. Regrettably, obviously, we lost, but he put it on his CV. And as soon as that comes on his CV, he gets offered the Lesotho national team job. You know, so you are able to demonstrate to the football world that you've done a job, and you've won the league in Namibia with African Stars. You have played in the Champions League You are able to speak to the experiences at an interview level, at an engagement level. So those are perhaps the reasons that you would have coaches being attracted. I think that we are in a highly ambitious club that really want to get to the top of African football. You would also know that I have the privilege of serving as one of the board members of the Africa Clubs Association for the COSAFA region, and it's greater impetus to really want to take and scale the club to those levels, and you need to have highly ambitious technical team that's able to read and buy into the vision.
Absolutely. Look, you as a club of this magnitude in the country, you carry a lot of authority, a lot of respect, and what you say carries weight. So the controversy around the top 8, we've seen some clubs pulling out, saying, look, the season has ended. We can't keep players around. Some players, I mean, look, clubs like yours sometimes have even foreign players who are playing here. They need to go home now and rest. But you have to keep them around, you pay for their accommodation or whatever. I don't know how it's handled. Why can't a club like African Stars? Because if you led the charge and say, look, guys, we are protesting, this is wrong. Football administrators ought to listen and do these things differently. Because, I mean, look, this weekend, Arsenal is taking on PSG. It's just a weekend after the league has ended. Players can hang around for a week. But now for us, the league ends and maybe a month later is when we do this. That's just, it's like a joke to me.
No, twice, I mean, so you want to have a football calendar that speaks to certainty around what do you plan for, right? You cannot kick a can down the road and hope it falls somewhere. So to the extent that, for instance, the top 8, right, was Standard Bank. And we have to thank Corporate Namibia for coming in, and really, I think they did very well in terms of the product. But a top 8 cup is a pre-season to the new season, because you are preparing the teams that came top 8 the previous season.
So it's a precursor.
Absolutely.
Of some sort,
And what you would have wanted to see is that with the league becoming independent and the league still sourcing sponsorship, you could have used to say that, look, we have secured sponsorship from Standard Bank for the top 8 cup, which will be the first tournament of the new football season 26-27. Now we're looking for another sponsor for the league, or a consortium of sponsors for the league. So you would have had one bird in the bag, you would be looking for others to come on board. Obviously, the football decision and the sponsor agreed in advance, and it was regrettable, right? The NFA Cup is even worse, right? And in a sense that you don't play these tournaments once the league have come to an end. Especially if you look at African Stars that's preparing for CAF Champions League. I think you need around 7 to 8 weeks of pre-season to be able to be ready. But you also need to give the players, I think, 2 to 3 weeks of rest after a long season like the one that we had. So in terms of African Stars' position and protest, I mean, if you look at the Transition League, many years ago, we said that we're not going to play the Transition League because it made no sense to play with relegated clubs, right? Now, here we are, football has taken flight, and we are saying that the league will become independent next year, and all of this will be dealt with. So, and I hear the other clubs are saying that, look, they don't have the personnel cost to carry the players through this period as the tournaments came after the fact. Rightfully so. We took a decision to say, especially on the NFA Cup, look, we had a squad of almost 22, 25 quality players. And some of them obviously did not play. this is a chance also to give them a chance in the NFA Cup, and say that, look, I mean, do we keep them? Some of them, their contracts are coming to an end, and all of this. So this is a gauge to see whether they continue. So, I mean, the problems of football in terms of decision making has been with us for a while. It's nothing new. And we hope that we'll arrive at a point that when the league become independent, I mean, there could even be a memorandum of agreement or understanding between the league and the NFA in terms of the relationship. And we hope that these decisions around tournaments coming after the fact will be something of the past, and subsequently sponsors will also understand that the product owners, which essentially are the clubs, have a say in these things. Currently, regrettably, we don't, you know. I mean, even if you say that we hold sway in terms of influencing decisions, one of the things that we have been very clear on is the TV rights issue, right? African Stars have taken a decision to say that our home games will not be screened without consultation with us, right? Because from Monday to Friday, you've got a team training, there's transport fees, there's equipment, there's all of this cost that accompany to prepare the team for Saturday, right? Now, if you speak to clubs and you ask them to support you in a principal position that will also advance them, and they don't, right? What are your chances of influencing them not to take part in a tournament? Because at the end of the day, if you want to screen games for free, right, Twice, why are you charging at the gate? Then everyone must come out for free. So I'm giving you the background on the lay of the land in Namibian football, the fragmentation that's there, and we hope that once we move towards this professionalization, clubs will sign up for commercialization, because at the end of the day, there are certain things that's required from clubs to be able to participate in a professional structure. One of those is obviously club licensing, and with club licensing, there are certain requirements that clubs have to meet, and through that, perhaps it would mean that they would have to look at how can they increase their revenue generating capabilities, as opposed to screening games for free and have this nonchalant approach to a product that's highly sought after globally.
Yeah, absolutely. We go for a very short break and return with Mr. Hei in a moment. We are still talking to Gaza on the agenda. He is himself a former football player, playing at the highest level of Namibian football, and now into administration. Tell me about this mooted separation of the league from the NFA. What are the inherent benefits of that arrangement? I mean, we used to be like that before, as a matter of fact, in some way.
No, I mean, so there are very good examples around the world in terms of the independence of a league in relation to the FA. Now, if you even read the statutes of the NFA, they are meant it is developmental, right? Developmental in nature and really more regulatory if it were. The product of football usually sits with the league. And what then happens is that the product of the league is then commercialized. It's commercialized around the product owners, which are the clubs. And the decisions and governance structures are then informed by the constitution that then regulate the clubs. So we'll do away with the after-season tournaments. Will bring about certainty in terms of relegation and promotion. if you look at South Africa, for instance, I mean, you know that the bottom 3 clubs will either play off, the bottom 1 will be relegated. You know that in advance. I mean, the season has come to an end. There's been no announcement whether clubs have been relegated or not, right? From a sponsorship perspective, once the league is independent, the sponsors would know that the independence of the league is not linked to elections of the NFA president that will lead to a stalemate, for instance. It will mean that sponsors will sign up for a 5-year duration, 3-year duration, knowing that the league will play, because the statutes of the league will dictate to that. And that's what sponsors want. I mean, you don't want to have clubs writing letters saying that they will not participate in this tournament. I mean, there were instances where clubs did not show up for games and that sort of thing. So those are the inherent benefits that comes with it, because you sign up knowing exactly what the future looks like. You sign up knowing exactly, you can plan which games you intend to watch. You can create an ecosystem where even ticketing is predetermined. For instance, whether through apps of the league, to know that the African Stars game, between Chula Chula is sold out in advance, because you would know that the league fixtures do not change. If it does, it's really in very special circumstances. You would know how to make sure that your fixtures in relation to the FIFA calendar, the CAF calendar, is aligned. And also, I mean, what you want is, you want to create a product that is able to speak to the reality on the ground. I mean, in terms of if you have 65 million people in South Africa, where you've got a 16 team league, does it make sense for Namibia with 3 million people to have 16 clubs? You know, from a product offering perspective, I mean, you know that we have in some instances 3 games in Windhoek. African Stars is playing Chula Chula at Hage Geingob. Commerce Nampol is playing Unam at Unam. Ongos is playing Okahanja United at SKW. I mean, the fragmentation of following is compromised. You know?
The fans having to separate themselves among those 3 matches that you,
Yes, and then what happens is that if you as a sponsor want to come in and you see less than 100 people at the match, what product are you selling? What TV rights can you make out of that? You know, and these are the harsh realities and the hard conversations that one need to have as we take the product forward. So inherently, there's a model that has worked globally, and it's a model that we should pursue. Obviously, the previous model that we had with the NPL, I think, worked well until the friction started, and we had the confrontation that led to where we are now, only to go back where we were before. You know, but at what risk? At what cost?
Exactly. For a club like African Stars, when you are champions, obviously, and you are going to play in the preliminary stages of the Champions League of Africa, you played your last matches. Was it in Botswana? Isn't it? Your home matches were played in Botswana.
Yeah, the last one was in Cape Town, but yes, we did play in Botswana as well.
Yeah. Whether Cape Town, Cairo, or Botswana, Hanzi, or wherever, that also disadvantages you big time. I mean, there are African Star supporters, or even supporters of football in Namibia in general, who say, today I'm a Tigers supporter, but today we put that partisan support on the side because our Namibian football club is playing a team, TP Mazembe from DRC. So we want to come in numbers and really behind the team and to see the players from those clubs. We are robbed of that advantage because we don't have a CAF approved facility in the country. Your comment on that?
No, I mean, you hit the nail right on the head. I mean, it's a complete disregard for the product. And remember that the dilapidation or the disqualification of stadiums, it's not an event, it's a process, right? It speaks to maintenance because the stadium was once CAF approved, you know. So again, it goes to administration and leadership, you know. Even worse is the brave warriors. They're in the same dilemma. And the reality is that in the rest of the continent, what you find is that when African Stars qualifies for the group stages, the FA gets a portion of an appropriation from CAF.
Ooh,
right?
Okay.
So we represent government, we represent the country, if it were. And what you would want is to make sure that the support that needs to come as we embark on this journey, flying the flag of the country, is endorsed at the highest level. And a stadium is one way of doing that, right? If you look at Dr. Hage Geingob Stadium, right, it's a stadium that is not too far off, right, in terms of the requirements for a preliminary Africa Champions League game. I mean, what is it that we need? There are certain requirements around the ablution facilities in terms of the number of showers you need to have inside the medical room. You need to have the media room, and one of the things that you also need to have within the locker rooms is cubicles for players, right? I think they have upgraded the UNAM Stadium in terms of the cubicles inside, but again, we hope that the NFA and the Sports Commission and everyone involved take this very seriously, in the sense that even the cost, as Africa Clubs Association, we have fought very hard to be able to bring in a grant at the preliminary stage. Remember, previously we did not have a grant to play in the preliminary phases. The board fought hard. It was initially 50,000, and now we are at 100,000 USD. But remember that that's absorbed in your home away game. You know, we played Jwaneng in Botswana. Jwaneng is from Botswana, so essentially you play two games, giving them an advantage, right? Even if we beat them the first game in Gaborone, the second game they beat us, then we went out on penalties, right? But if we played our home game here as our home away, I don't think that would have been the case because of the 12th man that usually comes in. So it's an indictment on the product. We hope that changes very quickly. We hope that all the stakeholders understand what is at stake, to the extent, Toys, that, I mean, even if sport is one of the development objectives of our country, from a diversification perspective in terms of the economy, from an export base and remittances, which will then improve foreign reserves, why don't we speak to corporates in terms of tax breaks? You know, you say that for every corporate that comes on board and spends over 1 million in football or whatever, there's a certain corporate tax break that can come through that, right? Because at the end of the day, we will then build the industry of football, whether you bring about a minimum wage within football, and through that personal disposable income increases for players, they then retail in the country improves, and you create more jobs. So there are mechanisms, and through that a stadium can be funded.
Tell me, you raised a very important point there about, because the government is preaching now about sport as a job creating industry, no longer just as a recreational industry. For a club like yours, can we classify African stars players as somehow employed? Are you giving them something to live on?
Yeah, well, I think we are. I mean, I think we've gone a long way in trying to do that. I mean, the African stars players in the main are meaningfully employed, and this is why we also want a coach that understands that. When I say meaningfully employed, you cannot have players on above average salaries training only 2 days, only 2 hours in the afternoon, right? You want them to understand how the game has advanced, even from a theoretical perspective, where they can come in at 9, go through theory with a coach, so that the coach is then able to transmit this message in terms of how he wants to play, because this is a full-time job in our view. I mean, we by no chance paying salaries that are in relation to, say, South Africa, for instance. It's worlds apart. I think Botswana are paying even much higher than what we compensate our players at African Stars. And I think there's now a new tap opening up in Zimbabwe as well.
Yeah.
I think
Zim is
the gold rush
blowing
there,
up.
the gold rush there are giving our players an avenue for earnings. But I think, Toys, we can say with a lot of humility that we have tried to improve the lives of our players. I mean, at all material times, even at great personal cost.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of, our country used to produce global stars. We shipped players over to Germany, your Shikudus, your Colin Benjamins. Colin Benjamin playing against Thierry Henry in Champions League. I love that photo of him and Henry shaking hands and whatnot. Your Elifashi would have playing for Motherwell in Scotland. And when you thought of it, maybe in the late 90s and early 2000s, you thought by this time we'll be having players in the English Premier League, in Serie A and all these things. But we've degenerated big time. Players are now in Zimbabwe, and with all its problems, our guys are flocking there. Where did we go wrong?
Yeah. Again, so it goes to the mandate of the National Association, right? If you go back to those generations that you are referring to, remember there was the golden generation, which is the Ricardo Menetti, Ronnie Kanolelo, Mohamed Osef, Kongo Hinjo, right? And that golden generation was a team that was built by Peter Uberjan, right? But below that age, right, 2 or 3 years younger than that generation, was the Colin Benjamin, the Jeffrey Roman, Nico Nicodemus, Gershon Cooper, that team that came after that, right? But that was an under-23 team to this particular national team. So there was a feeding system where you have these players. As soon as a Mohamed Ausep is not available, a Michael Pinar would be called up to come fill that gap. And after that generation, then it was us that were now younger than Colin and Jeffrey, them, myself, Polo Shipanga, Flores Dirhart, Timisa Janse, so there was a clear pipeline in terms of players coming through the system through the development mandate of under 17, under 20, under 23, and the senior team, right? If I ask you today, who is the under 17 captain, will you be able to tell?
I won't.
You understand? And again, if I ask you who's the biggest under 20 talent in the country today, you won't be able to tell me.
Absolutely.
Because there's no profiling. These structures, if they exist, perhaps we don't know. The newspaper cup is an event. It happens, everyone is excited about it. What happens to those players? Yeah. Who was the best player in Khombabes 2 years ago? Where is he today? Right? So to your point, that the team that we currently have in the national team of Dion Hotto, Peter Shalulile, is the very same team that Ricardo Menetti built through these structures many years ago. There's been pockets of players coming in like Prince Weather, but you don't want pockets. You want a proper pipeline. Yeah. So the talent is there. I don't think the talent has disappeared. I mean, if you look how Colin them were able to scale the global stage. Razandara Shikudu is another one. Quentin Jacobs is a Manchester United trialist. You know, so it tells you that we have just lost focus. It has not disappeared. It's a matter of really making sure that we get our house in order to be able to produce. To produce this export. I mean, despite the problems, again, we were able now to export or sell Tulinashiwa to Richards Bay, right, from African Stars. Pakonja Shaikika is now in Zim. D0 is again in the first division in South Africa. And
Gero came from you guys?
Yes, Gero was with us, but obviously he comes from UNAM for a longer period, but he's an African Stars boy. So you do have the pipeline, but it's just not structured, and also it's not it's not consistent, because at the level of where you want to get the training correctly, at the level where you want to get the feeding correct, we're falling through the cracks there.
How do you plan as a reigning champions, and you want to defend your title again next season? But as we speak now, we don't even know whether there will be money to kickstart the next season. It's a consistent problem in Namibian football. Of course, it was good when I heard you talk about some of the models that we can implement, such as tax breaks and incentives for those that are supporting sport and whatnot. Some people spoke about maybe having a fund, some levy reserved for sport in general and football in particular, so that this becomes really a job creating industry that the president envisions. How do you prepare for next season when amid that uncertainty?
Yeah, it's really a difficult situation, in the sense that you really want to make sure that this is a genuine approach in terms of the league leaving. And also, I mean, we had a FIFA management course a while back, a month and a half back, where FIFA came in and told us that clubs need to own the product, clubs need to organize themselves. We need to come together and make sure that we've got a collective voice. At times that's not the case, right? Because, I mean, we now in May, starting June, right? The league should start in August. The financial years of corporate companies, where are they? They need to, if they need to come on board, they should commit to this. And so it is a difficult one, but also I think on our end, which perhaps should be improved, is that we are trying to speak to corporates as well in our own little pockets to make sure that perhaps they see the product. One of the things that we have done, Trace, is that we've become very principled on selling tickets in advance. Why? Because I want to demonstrate to you as a potential sponsor that I'm able to push on average between 800 and 1,500 people every weekend for African Stars, right? You are around for a while, you will be hard pressed to tell me which social event in Namibia is able to attract that number of people, right? The Chula Chula African Stars game is the biggest social event in the year. I mean, you get around 6,000-7,000 people coming to the stadium. So it goes to tell you that there is a value proposition, but it needs to be packaged, you know. So the conversation is ongoing. I think the NFA established a committee of a few clubs to try and look at what can be salvaged. There's also an understanding of, you see, so for instance, if you look at the broadcasters within the domestic game, and I'm having a meeting with one of them next week, is that the packaging of broadcasting rights is really what will determine corporates.
Yeah.
It will not take a Salomo Hei to speak to Toys, who owns Toys Investments, to come on board. It will take Toys Investment to understand what is the coverage and leverage that he can enjoy through the platform, right? And this is why it's important that the selling of these rights become critical to this independence of the league and to the sponsors coming on board, being backed up by some of the figures that I'm trying to give you here to say that there is a value proposition. And you must also be able to tell the sponsors that, excuse me, the product today has got 16 clubs. But for us to optimize it, we need to consider getting it to 10 or 12 clubs so that you play one game per weekend. Sorry. We are perhaps the only country in the world toys that plays double headers, Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
I mean, it's against FIFA rules.
Yeah.
FIFA says 72 hours. Right? So you as a sponsor, you also want to have this compliance with where football is. So I think it's an ongoing conversation, and it's a conversation that needs the necessary agency in both the short, medium, and long term to be able to make sure by August or September we can announce that there's going to be football in the country.
Absolutely. Perhaps the last question to you, Gaza, is how is African Stars the ownership structure? I'm asking this question because the community ownership concept seems to have sunk a lot of big clubs in the country. Your Black Africans and others, Tigers, are in trouble at the moment. People are saying the clubs need to have some sort of owner, identifiable owner, and maybe an element of community ownership, if you like, but it has to be that owner. Who owns your club?
So African Stars is a PTY, right? So it's privately owned. I don't know whether you want me to divulge the shareholding structure here.
It's important.
I think that it's a private company choice. I mean, we did pursue the model of the community ownership, and as you have rightly pointed out, it didn't work very well for some clubs, and this is why we have taken the route of the private ownership. Again, if you look at other successful models, whether you want to look across the borders, even Kaiser Chiefs, again, privately owned.
Sundowns, very successful under Motsepe.
Precisely. And then and that's precisely because it's difficult to sell a vision to people that don't see it, right? And the governance is what informs that vision. And you're gonna get stuck in perpetual conversations that do not necessarily advance the club because decisions are not being made. You need 50 plus 1, you need this, and. So please pardon me, I don't want to speak on ownership of a club without having had the approval of whether people's names can be put out here, but it's privately owned. As the club expands and grows, we most probably will get to an equity sort of stakes that we would invite other potential investors. The same way the Chiefs was perhaps listed at some point, and the JSE, Prime Media came in, the exited Holland also came in, and they made a lot of money out of those deals. So from our side, it's really that. And we for instance, Joyce, and I hope that your team join us tomorrow night, tomorrow evening. We're having our award ceremony. Again, we have tried to sell tables as part of raising money for the club, for the Africa campaign, and really for the sustain the club going forward. And those are the initiatives that keeps the clubs going. I mean, our caretakings, I think for the first time, Joyce, in a long time, we have breached the 1,000 mark on replicas for this season. The previous seasons we were hovering around 550. So there's progress being made, in terms of the different revenue generating activities that we are embarking on. The selling of tickets in advance. Remember that what we did with the first Chula Chula game, where we got around 6,000-7,000 people through the gates, selling the tickets in advance, increasing the prices as we come closer to the game. And it was very good revenue for the club. So this is the different mechanisms that one want to use to keep the club growing and keep the club financially viable in a difficult environment. So there are initiatives, for instance, to build a stadium, right? And again, if you get into Africa group stages, it changes the clubs completely because of the money that's involved there. Sundowns, I think, got now 90 million, 100 million for their Africa Champions League win. If you get into the group stages, again, there's a reasonable money that can help with, for instance, building a stadium to say that, look, as a club, we're putting this up. What can the financiers come up with? What can a sponsor come up with? I mean, the Amstel Stadium, renaming of Orlando Stadium, is a huge revenue generating initiatives for Pirates there, So there's a lot of initiatives that we have as a club that we want to unlock. And we hope the ecosystem improves. And we hope that some of the initiatives that we have put forward, other clubs can really support us. And through that, perhaps Namibia will be ready for a different type of leadership in football as well.
Absolutely. The last question is a tricky one. In 30 seconds that we have remaining, how much, what is the highest amount of money that African Stars has made from selling a player? Historically, at any point in your existence?
Twice. Yeah, so look, remember that Dion came through African Stars, but it was before my time, I think. It was just when Patrick had given, or the club was between Patrick and Sydney at the time. There was Maximilian Baiva, I remember them, that also went out, Chris Kashukwa, Lloyd Kadapwa. And in my time now, I mean, we've got very attractive sell-on clauses on players that goes to the first divisions, where we have exchanged hands. Again, I mean, we're not at liberty to produce the figures, but I think Tuli Nashiwa, that left now, we definitely got something for him. And look, I mean, the market currently is around 500 to 1 million. That's the range for Namibian player at this stage. You want that to improve by consistently having the pipeline going to that. And also it depends who you sell them to.
Absolutely.
So Kaizer Chiefs is a different ball game. It's a different price range. Orlando Pirates. I mean, Shalulile Sundowns, it's different. So from where we are, I hope my 30 seconds are up.
Gaza, you have played it very nice, the last one.
You
have gone through the corners until the 30 seconds were up. But I'm happy with the input. It's a very, very important conversation to have. Congratulations again on your fourth consecutive league trophy. And we wish you the best, especially for the African journey in the upcoming season.
Well, thank you, Tess. Thank you to your viewers, and thank you for having us. I mean, it's a real privilege to have been able to achieve this, and we hope that the next cycle, you see, the previous one, we got it. This one started with the first sticker. We hope the next three again remains with you.
Absolutely. That is Salomo Hei. He is chairperson of African Stars Football Club, gracing our platform this weekend to share with us the intricacies of running a football club in Namibia. Thank you for watching.